Thank you all for the thoughtful way in which you're engaging in this conversation. And I just want to talk a little bit about citing considerations. So I also was a member of the King County Task Force, and we really talked a lot about citing. And some of those things have already been touched on here, right? We want to cite in a place where there's already outdoor drug use or public drug use. It doesn't make sense to put this in a neighborhood where that activity doesn't already exist. One thing that the task force also recommended was a fixed site over a mobile unit, which is not to say that a mobile unit cannot be an effective way to go about this, but I think as we think about, what is the most effective site, we want to think about where we put it, and we want to think about how we operate it. So fundamentally, this should be a relational encounter, not a transactional encounter, because we know that it's the relationship that is really going to change people's lives. So we want to think about considerations like, how does drug use actually work, right? What does it mean for someone who's using drugs, who's normally doing that in isolation and is now doing that in front of someone else, which is an incredibly intimate experience and one that has the power to forge an incredible bond between healthcare worker and client. But we have to have the right space for that bond to form, space where that person who's engaged in drug use can do it in a way that feels comfortable for them. For a lot of people engaged in drug use, there's a tremendous amount of ritual around their drug use. So they're engaging in a certain way, right? They're doing a certain set of steps. They may lay their materials out in a certain order over, a certain amount of space. We want to think about, do we have enough space for that person to really engage in a way that they're going to want to use the space and not revert back to just using whatever bathroom or whatever alley they were using before, right? Have we created a space they want to enter into? And have we created a space that feels safe, that feels private? And there are questions about how that works in a mobile unit. A mobile unit is inherently limited really just to that injection or consumption. So everyone walking into it basically has a flag on their back why they're going into that, as opposed to a fixed site where it's embedded in a broader array of services. So people are entering into that building for all sorts of reasons. So people may feel much more comfortable entering into a fixed site location as opposed to a mobile unit. So I think those are the kinds of considerations that should also be being discussed and thought about as we think about, not just where we cite, which is of course an incredibly important decision, but how we cite. What does the actual model look like?
We could do both because, right now